Run and I. Welcome to episode 15 of the Road to Dublin Marathon, a weekly vlog series with myself, Declan, where I talk about the highs and lows of marathon training and following on from sort of entering a training block when they're not the best physical condition that you could be and how that will pan out. So this video, it's been a long time in coming, and I do apologize. I got a couple of messages asking where it was at. Today's as well was able to tell me that the last one didn't upload properly, and every time I kept uploading it, it was just corrupting at around the 10-11 minute mark. So I am trying something new. I'm using Facebook, or not Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and hopefully this will upload this time. So this is week 15, well, week 16 of the training block because the first week was sort of like a very, very base block. But week 15 of the plan, the actual plan, and how has things went? So what have I done differently this week? I've definitely reduced the miles. I have reduced the frequency of runs, but I've actually kept the intensity quite high with regards to the paces slash efforts that I've been completing there as well. Okay, so week 15 started with a rest day. Anybody who's been watching these videos up to now know that I always take my Monday off, take a rest. It allows the body to recover from the hard sessions and usually the longer runs, which I do on a Sunday. Tuesday was stupidly busy in work, so I just had no time to get out for a run, which was absolutely fine, which led me on into Wednesday. Wednesday's run was, I'm looking down here, I've written these down. It was nice and simple. It was a four and a bit mile run, 45 minutes, easy on the treadmill. Worked out about 4.3 miles because I was just running really, really controlled, using the chest heart rate monitor just to keep everything you know within the right limits for myself, to make sure that I wasn't dipping into the well, that I was in zone one the whole way through, and it felt grand, nice, easy, and good recovery run. The pace now, to be honest, was a surprise that it was actually a bit slower than I anticipated. Because sorry for the shaky camera. Because you know what, I was squeezing so much work into that week. Because I wanted to take a few days off this week, the week that we're in now, so that I could take a bit of rest and recovery as well. So, I was working 13, 14-hour days, for nearly 2 weeks, and it was just taking a lot out of me. So I think that's why the heart rate was, not dipping too low. And to be honest, the resting heart rate was quite high as well. Usually I sit in and around the low 40s, sometimes 39, 38, but generally in around 42 to 45. But for a week and a bit there, the resting heart rate was sitting high 50s. So it was either, I was getting ill, I was run down, or the body was just telling me that it needed a rest. So now, thankfully, this week, I know I've had a few days off work now, haven't been working quite as long hours, haven't been running as much, haven't been putting the body under as much stress. So it has been good in terms of watching that heart rate, the resting heart rate drop back down. But anyway, session one, 45 minutes, easy on the treadmill, no issues whatsoever. It worked out at about 10-minute mile pace, just over a 10-minute mile pace. The next day, Thursday, I done my usual route, a nice 10k route that I do. It's a little bit uphill at the start, then it's nice and flat for about 4 miles, and then you get a wee bit of a downhill for the finish. So it's absolutely fantastic for doing tempo efforts on, because it allows you with that uphill at the start to get the heart rate up nice and quick without having to push too hard to get it up. So I ended up doing the 10k at about 7:30 pace. Again, not quite as fast as previous tempos, but again, the heart rate shot up and stayed there, so it was an effort over a pace with regards to that run there. And, felt grand. So I think it was, let's say 7:30, it was 7:25, so I'm looking down here at my notes, which was fine, started a wee bit slower and built into it as we went. But again, that took 45 minutes. So two 45-minute runs, absolutely fine. Friday, Friday I didn't actually run on the Friday because it was like a 16-hour day that I was working. It was really, really busy, trying to get as many people squeezed in as I could. But yeah, it was fine, taking that rest day. Then on the Saturday, did I do anything? Looking down at my notes. Ah, yes, of course. I'm trying to remember here what my notes are saying. Apologies. So Saturday, I ended up going down. Good friend of mine, Matthew Nicholson, who is Run Armagh, him and Clive, were organising a wee local marathon, a wee low key marathon. Now, normally I'd be all over that there, going down, running a marathon, just for fun. But because it was so close to the Dublin Marathon and my big goal of running a decent time at it, I took the sensible option. And originally I'd signed up for the half marathon, but I just knew that a half marathon wasn't doable in terms of time scales. But it also wasn't quite all that sensible either a week before the marathon, doing a week before the marathon, doing a half marathon on an unknown trail route. So I dropped down to the 10K, and the plan was just to go out and do 10K at marathon pace. So it was an 8 minute mile pace, and it worked out at 6.6 miles, 8 minute miles, no issues. Felt really comfortable the whole way through. Nice to get the legs spinning around at marathon pace a week before the marathon. And then I went on to work and did another 8 hour shift in work after that there as well. But that sort of finished up most of the sports massages for me. I had a couple more to do. And then on Sunday, I was down on my other job doing a sort of course, creating some content for that, doing some videos and getting some interviews with some of the participants on it. And I texted a good friend of mine, Bernard, and just seen if he'd wanted to go out for a run. My plan said 8. His plan said 4, so we sort of negotiated a little bit and went into the middle and done a 6 mile run, so a 6.5 mile run. Nice to have a bit of company for that final run, of the week, just somebody to chat to. So Bernard, he's also doing Dublin. He's been absolutely smashing his training as well, and hopefully everything goes as planned for him. So 4 runs. So this is the first week with 4 runs without actually missing a run. So the taper is definitely happening. This week that I'm in now, that this video is going out in, has been reduced even more drastically. But I'll touch on that in next week's video, and give you a full down race sort of report too and how things have went. The taper to me, what have I really been doing? It's been increasing my hydration. Trying to clean up the diet, which is really hard when you're working long hours. So I haven't really been doing as much of that as I would have liked the previous week. Now I have been doing it this week, so that's good. But definitely a reduction in miles, as you can see. I've went from a peak week of about 55 miles a week to last week, which worked out at, I think, 4,666, about 23, 24 miles. So that's just about 50%, which is an ideal taper the 2 weeks before the marathon. Haven't been going too crazy, the taper madness hasn't been getting me too much. Feeling a little bit of ache and pains at times, feeling, tired, feeling a wee bit crabbed. Took myself off coffee last week, which wasn't great whenever I was working so many hours. But that's really just so the caffeine hits whenever I take a caffeine strip, the Revies, during the marathon. So taper, yeah, going okay so far. I do prefer to be active and running, especially this week. It's Friday that this is going out, and I've ran 1 5K. That's not me at all. I'll be like a springed coil come the marathon. So race strategy. What's the plan for Dublin? So whenever I started this vlog, the goal time was to run 3:30, and to get comfortably back down to that distance, or that pace, sorry, for the distance. And I still think that's roughly where I'm going to go. So my race strategy is to go out. I'm in wave 1, and I'm going to go out in the first 2 to 3 miles at about 8:10 to 8:15 pace. And I say this here, but every single time I do a race, I go out stupidly hard, and pay for it at the end. So I really, really do need to sort of stick to this here, because I've gave everybody that I coach the same instructions to go out 10 to 15 seconds slower than goal pace. What are you going to lose? 45 seconds till a minute overall. Um, you know, but if you go out too hard, it's really hard to sort of, get your energy back up again. So I'm going to go out first 3 miles at 8:10 to 8:15s, settle into a nice rhythm, not worry about trying to pass people, not worrying about, the weaving and the jostling for space and everything as well. I then plan to take the pace down till 8, possibly 7:45s, depending on how good that I feel on the day. Um, my marathon PB is 3:24 and a few seconds. I think it's 3:24:23. And if you hadn't told me I would have been anywhere close to that 15, 16 weeks ago, I probably would have laughed at you. But based off the half marathon PB, the miles that I've done, the tempo efforts, and the 5K run there a couple of weeks ago, I I'm actually probably closer to it than I ever anticipated. So Dublin, if anybody's ever ran Dublin before or watched the videos up, if you haven't watched the video with the course description, definitely give it a go. It's really, really good. But the first half of Dublin's hillier than the second half, with a few rolling hills. No hills that you can really worry about, I would say, but it definitely is there's a few draggy hills. So the plan is to take the first half conservatively and then push on as much as I can in the second half. But realistically, I've never really done a negative split marathon, but that's always because I went out too hard at it. So if I'm sensible at the beginning, I think I can do this here. So if I run sort of 7:40 to 7:50 on average, I should hit a PB. I think 7:47 is the pace I ran at the last time. I'm quietly confident that I can do it, but a marathon is a long, long distance, and it takes a lot of things to happen on the day to make these things come to fruition. So I'd be really, really happy with the 3:30. I'll be delighted with the 3:30, but I'm under no illusion that I am in PB shape, and getting a little bit older as well, I might not get other chances to do this year. So there was somebody put up a post in my Facebook group there a few weeks back, and the sort of the crux of it was, you haven't came this far to only come this far, and I think that sums up where I'm at the moment. For if things are hurting, sore, whatever, 3-4 miles to go, it's going to be time to dig really, really deep and start pushing out, because I might not get another chance, to do this year. I say that, but after Dublin, what's the plans? Don't know. I've signed up to a couple of 10Ks. I'm going to take the winter nice and easy. It's been a tough training block, but I also don't want to lose the fitness. I want to retain as much fitness as I can as well. So I'll do a few base miles, go back to proper heart rate training, zone 1, zone 2 stuff, get that aerobic capacity built up an awful lot, while retaining a little bit of strength through the maybe cross countries and possibly a wee sort of spring ultra, just because I like a bit of long running as well. So guys, look, I'll wrap up this video now. I'm hoping that this has worked with the live video as well. Niall has just asked if I plan on sticking one of the pacers. Niall, the goal probably is not to use a pacer, and the reason being the 3:20 pacer is the only pacer, or it's the slowest pacer in wave 1. I could drop back into wave 2 and follow the 3:30 pacer, but when 2019, when I ran Dublin, I started off at the front of wave 2, and within 4 miles, sort of just as you're coming into Phoenix Park, I ended up catching the tail end of wave 1, and it got very, very frustrating at that point to start weaving through people and trying to find space. Whereas I think if I start at wave 1 in a sort of pace that I'm at, I won't have that sort of issue with regards to jostling for space whenever it comes to that there. So will I follow a pacer? I don't think so. I think 3:20 is just a little bit out of my capabilities at this stage. So I'm just going to have to go with myself. But speaking to a few guys sort of locally up here in Magherafelt Mid Ulster, they've got the similar goal to me, sort of 325 ish. So I might try to hook up with them and see if we can get our own wee pacing group going to keep ourselves going. Other than that, if I can't find them, I'll use the Race Strategy Pro on the Garmin, and allow it to sort of set my pace up and use me for pacing on that there as well. Hopefully that answers that there. So look, this is obviously working if people are asking me questions. This is the first time I've ever done anything with, so thanks, Niall. But guys, I'll wrap this video up. I just want to say thank you to every single person who has followed me on this journey so far. This vlog series was really just for myself to keep myself accountable, something for me to do, and just so that whenever I'm following my own training plan, that's I've got somewhere to report to, especially as I'm coaching myself. So it's been really good to do that there. And the messages of positivity, everybody else following along who's doing the race themselves. It's great that people are enjoying this here. Okay, so I will do a video next week with a full race report. We'll see how it goes. I want to wish every single person who toes the line in Dublin the very, very best of luck. And if you see me on course, or if you see me pre-race, post-race, definitely come up and say hello. And maybe we'll get a wee pint afterwards. All right, guys. So yeah, thank you and good luck in Dublin. All right, all the best.